Hello, I'd like to take this time today to talk to you about factoring. Now, whenever we begin any factoring of a polynomial, we start off by looking for a GCF. If we do have a GCF, greatest common factor, common between all of the terms of the polynomial, we would factor that out, write it out front. And then we look at what's left over. How many terms do we have left over? If we have two terms, we're thinking difference of squares. So we want to check to see if we have a difference of squares. If we have three terms, we're thinking, can I use the product sum method because I have a trinomial here? The product sum method is also known as the AC method. Okay. And then for that final piece, we've got 4 plus terms, and we would try to do grouping, use some kind of a grouping method. All right. So we start off with factoring. We should always start off with GCF, so that's where we'll begin our discussion. We look at all of our terms. We've got 6x squared y squared minus 2xy squared plus 6x cubed y. We look at the coefficients of each term. Do they have something in common? 6, 2, and 6. We normally go to the smallest number. Is it divisible into the other terms? If it is, that's great. If it's not, well, we're going to have to work a little bit to find the proper set of factors that might work, if there are any available. So I look and I can see 6, 2, and 6, they're all divisible by that smallest coefficient of 2. So we're going to take that 2 and put it out front. Then we've evaluated the numerical coefficients. Now we're looking at the variables. We've got an x in each term, so we know we're going to take an x out. We look which has the smallest exponent. We've got 2 as an exponent for x in the first term, 1 as an exponent of x in the second term, and 3 in the third. So the most common x we have available, or the greatest common, would be x to the 1. So we're going to take x to the first power out. We go back and look at our y's. Y is the same way. We've got a y squared, and a y to the 1. In all three of our terms we have a y. We take the smallest exponent, which is y to the 1, factor it out, and we write what's left. So we have 6x squared y squared. 6 divided by 2 is 3. We had x to the 2, we took one of them out, we're left with 1. We had y to the 2, we took one of our y's out, we're left with a y. We go to the next term. We had minus 2, we divided by 2, we're left with minus 1. We had x to the 1, we took an x to the 1 out, no more x's left. We go to our y, we had y squared, we took one y away, we're left with a single y. Okay. And now we go to our final term, 6 divided by 2, it's going to be a 3, so we say plus 3. X cubed, factoring out one of those x's, we're left with x squared. And y to the first is what we factored out, so there's no more y's left. So this is our GCF. This is our factored form for this particular polynomial. 2xy is the GCF. The remaining three terms are 3xy minus 1y plus 3x squared. Okay. So from there, we look at this next one here. 10 a cubed b squared plus 15 a squared b minus 5ab to the third. Again, I look at all of the coefficients. My smallest one is 5. I check. Yes, they are all divisible by 5. So I can take a 5 out. And then I look, does each of my terms have an a? It does. Smallest exponent being 1, so I take an a to the 1 out. And I look and evaluate. B has the same characteristic. There's b to the 1 is the most common between them all. And we begin our parenthesis to write what's left over. So 10 divided by 5 is going to be 2. A to the third, it's going to become a squared when we take one of the a's away. And b squared, when we factor out a b, it's going to leave us with a b to the 1. And then from there, 15 divided by 5 is going to be 3. A squared, take away an a, we're left with a to the 1. And we had a b, took the b out, there are no b's left. Leaving us with the final piece there, negative 5 divided by 5 is going to be negative 1. A, factoring out an a, there's no a's left. And b cubed, we factor out a b, and we're left with b squared. And we look, double check, 2, 3, 1, nothing common between those other than a 1. There are not a's in all of our terms, there are not b's in all of our terms, so this particular polynomial has been completely factored. and our greatest common factor is 5a. The final polynomial I wanted to factor is negative 12x cubed minus 6x. This is a common enough mistake we see, and we'll see why in a second. But I've got negative 12, negative 6. I can factor out a negative 6. Normally when the leading coefficient's negative, we tend to factor that negative sign out. Just makes it a little bit cleaner. It's more traditional to do it that way. And then I've got x to the third, and I've got x left over. So I'm going to write that I'm going to take an x out, x to the 1. So then I'm going to write what's left. Negative 12 divided by negative 6, 2. X cubed divided by x is x squared. And it was negative 6 divided by negative 6 is going to be plus 1. X divided by x. And there's our factored form. Notice here, this spot right here with our plus 1. This term people tend to leave out, so please be very careful when you're completing a greatest common factor to leave that placeholder of plus 1 there. It's negative 6x divided by negative 6x, so it's going to be plus 1. Please make sure you keep that in mind.